Hey, what's up guys? This is David8719 back with y'all again, and this time I'm bringing you a table review of two of my favorite HK firearms. The legendary HK USP45 and the HK45. Now, I know that there's a lot of videos out there, but I just thought I'd make this video seeing that I own both of them, and from to answer some questions that I have gotten from friends, people on Facebook, and to talk about some of the differences and upgrades that HK has done with the HK45 over the USP45. So first off, let's start with a safety check. Now both guns has been safety check off the video, but I'm just gonna do it for peace of mind. Now, let's start with the HK USP45 and talk about the overall look of the handgun to start with. Now, to me, the HK USP45 has a just classic look overall, rough and tough and mean, look. An all-terrain vehicle, look. It's something that will take on anything and everything and come out without a scratch at the end of it. So just tough and mean. Now let's start just by talking about the magazine capacity. 12 rounds of 45 ACP and one in the chamber. That makes 13 rounds. For that time, the USP45 was one of the largest capacities of 45 on the market for its time. Now, HK released the USP45 in 1995, but the concept of the USP model handgun was first released in 1993 when HK released the USP40 to handle the high pressures of the 40 Smith & Wesson round. And I do believe also that HK was working on the Mark 23 and the USP40 at the same time when the handgun was released in 1993 in 40 caliber first, and then HK released the USP9, and then in 1995 they released the USP45. Now let's talk about just the overall look of this handgun. Let's start with the back straps. As you guys can see, it has some sort of stippling in the back and front of the handgun, and it's an overall larger grip. But I like, honestly, I like the feel of the HK USP better. I feel like I got something in my hand. I feel like I'm really holding something, and it fits very well. I like larger grip handguns. Now, the reason why I point this out is because I'm going to talk about the differences and some of the upgrades done to the HK45 a little later. Now, let's talk about the safety. As you guys can tell, I'm a left-handed shooter, so I switched out the lever, the safety lever, to the left side. This is safe. This is fire and decocker. Now, I'm gonna point out something that I like about both handguns. They both have this feature. Let's say if you come home, and you want to unload your firearm, you can take the magazine out, and let's say you have one in, a round in the chamber. You can put it on safe and rack the slide, and that will expel the round in the chamber, and the gun will still remain on safe and not fire. And therefore, when it's empty, you can just decock the pistol. Now, let's talk about the upgrades. This, I changed the sights out that it came with, and I put the Trijicon night sights for the Usp45. As you guys can see here, this one only has the slight release lever on the right side and none on the left. Now for me, this style really doesn't I don't really mind this because I rack the slide anyway. Whenever I put a fresh mag in, I just rack the slide. You know, old school, old fashioned. I have gotten used to that method. You know, it's easier for me. And as you guys can tell, this is a proprietary rail from HK. And another thing that I want to point out here is the look of the barrel. One of the questions that I have gotten is, can you put the Usp45 barrel on the HK45? And can you put the HK45 barrel in the Usp45? And the answer to that question is no, you cannot, because both frames and slides are different. They're built different. As you guys can see here, it's a little thicker. And as you guys can tell from this angle, the barrel has like a little ramp going across it. You see, I don't know if it's got like a little, if you go like this, it's got a up ramp like that. Now, let's talk about, I'm going to show you something different. As you guys can tell here, the barrel from the HK45 doesn't have that. As you know, if you guys look at it, it's more of a straight across barrel. You know, straight across barrel. It does not have that ledge going up. Maybe it does a little bit, just a tiny little bit, but not at all. And as you guys can tell from the slide, it's a lot thinner. So both slides of the handguns are built differently. So therefore, you know, the barrels will not be interchangeable. Now, as you guys can tell from this, the HK45, it's got slide levers on both sides, left-handed, right-handed. And as you guys can tell, it has a 1913 Picatinny rail that allows you to add a light. So I added an O light to the HK45, and I switched out the barrel, and I bought a separate threaded barrel for the HK45 as well. And the reason why this one has an O light on it, because this is actually my, you know, nightstand gun. And as you guys can tell from the grip, it's a lot slimmer, and it feels good in the hand as well. But I really do like more the feel of the HK45 better. Now, both great guns, they work perfectly, you know, but if I had to choose one, you know, if I had to only have one, I would choose the HK Usp45. But seeing that I don't have to choose one, I can have both. But if, let's say, if I have to choose one to, you know, defend myself and, you know, for lack of a better term, go to war with, I would take the Usp45. Now, here's another small detail that I have noticed. This is a magazine that goes into the HK45, and it's a 10-round magazine. As you guys can see, it's slimmer to fit in the grip. 10 rounds, 10 plus 1. And then the Usp45 has a much thicker magazine, and it takes 12 rounds. Now, here is something that you guys might not have noticed, but the Usp45 magazine doesn't fit in the HK45 grip because it's slimmer and the magazine is thicker there at the bottom. This is how far it goes in. That's it. But if you take the Usp45, you can insert the magazine into the Usp45 from the Hk45. Now, you can rack the slide, but the slide doesn't lock back. Now, I have not tried this out at the range, so I don't know if in a pinch, you can pick up a round from the Hk45 magazine in case you guys, have an emergency like that and you guys need a round. But yeah, this is how far it goes. Now, me being a left-handed shooter, I like the fact that the magazine releases on both sides. That's a factor that I do like. Now I can hit both slide releases very simple. I have trained to do it with my trigger finger, but sometimes I do it with my thumb as well. So it's no big deal to me. I can handle both, and I can do it with both. Sometimes most people can't, and they use their trigger finger, and some use their thumb. Now, another small detail here, as you can see, the magazine release lever is smaller on the Usp45. Now, I do believe that you can change these out if you go on hkparts.com and order a larger slide release. But for me, there's no problem at all. And you can see here that the magazine release is a lot bigger on the Hk45, so it's a lot easier to hit. Now with me, I don't have any problems doing both. Now, another small detail that I have noticed for myself, and I'm sure other people have as well, with the Usp45, if you're not careful, sometimes you can pinch your finger, when sliding the magazine in. You can pinch the little piece of your hand right here, so sometimes that becomes a problem. But for me, that's not an issue at all, neither, because my hands are not that big, and I have, I guess, decent sized hands. Now, if you guys go look at my previous video on the Hk45, I had owned the LEM version before as well. Now, the LEM version of the Hk45 was a good gun. Never had a problem with it, but I tried it out, shot it for a while, but I did not like the feel of it. I couldn't get used to shooting it like I would normally want to. So I traded the LEM version for the double single action handgun, as you guys see here. Now this, I got this from my local gun store, and since I traded it in, they had different models of the Hk45, of course, that the original all black, and things like that. But they had this model with the silver slide. Now, seeing that all HK handguns are black, and I own 5 of them, I just decided to add a little color to my collection. And I thought, okay, this color will look better with the treaded model barrel on it. So I did. I ordered one, and I added it to it. Now, both handguns use different recoil systems. I'm gonna try to show you that for a minute. Sorry, it's a little difficult to do this on camera. It's a lot easier when you're doing it off camera and things, Now, as you guys can see, the HK45 has this buffer recoil system that supposedly it's supposed to reduce recoil over 30%. Now, I have shot this at the range, and you know, I normally can't tell a lot of the difference, but it's a very smooth handgun. This is the recoil that it has, and as you guys can see, the it's just kind of a straighted, you know, a more straight guy rod, and the buffer just reacts differently like this when the slide cycles. Now, if you guys give me a second, I will try to show you the difference between both. This is a little bit harder to do. There we go. Sorry about that. As you guys can tell, the type of recoil system that it has here. As you guys can tell, the Usp45 does not have that buffer tube allowing it. This is kind of like a two-stage, two-part recoil system. Like a two-part recoil system here. See, it goes straight here, and then here at the end piece here, it has a more compressed recoil, spring on it. And this is what the inside of the slide looks. Well, since I already have it broken down, and I struggle a little bit, taking it, apart, so I might as well show you what the inside of the slide looks. This is what it looks like, and HK does overbuild everything, so it's a hefty, heavy slide. And let me show you guys the frame. See, this is the frame. This is what it looks like on the inside. It shouldn't take me so long to break this down and put it back together. I have done it many times before, but it's a little harder to do when you're on camera. So, give me a break. As you guys can tell, you can take the slide off. I forgot to release the magazine, but it's no big deal. It's empty. Now this is what the the HK USP45 frame looks like. It's a little thinner on this side right here. This is what the inside looks like. Now, again, I'm going to show you guys the buffer system on this. Here's the buffer system, and here's the threaded barrel that I added to, you know, to the HK45. You can take the slide off, but to take the barrel out, you have to unthread this. And then try to push it forward, then lift up and out. This is what it looks like on the inside. Now, like I said, this usually comes in black, but the previous owner, you know, decided to do this, and I just thought I'd add a little bit more color to my collection. This is what the inside looks like. And as you guys can tell, it's a more thinner slide. Now I do want to change the sights out on this one as well and put the Trijicon night sights on this, because I do not own a suppressor, and I don't think I, you know, will eventually. So, you know, adding suppressor high sights to that, it's not really something that needs to be done, at least for myself. Now, you can, as you guys can see, you can put the barrel back in it. I like to put the shred cap back on it. Make sure I don't, you know, don't lose it. Oh, and here's another thing. HK does, you have to shred it on correctly, you see. They have their own unique way of, you know, doing things, and so, and here's the guy rod again. And as you guys can tell, it's just a straight guy rod. The spring does not compress, and they add that buffer tube on there to help with recoil. So that's a little bit of the upgrades that HK did. There. Now you're back in business. And like I said, here you go. Now personally, like I said, I do prefer the USP45. If I had to go to war or defend myself, or let's say if, you know, something happens and you have to grab a gun, I would grab the USP45 to take with me. This one does, you know, the duty that I have it on right now, I do take it to the range and shoot it normally like I do all my other handguns, but I do use this as my nightstand gun. That's why it has a light on it. And I just added a different barrel to it to go with the color. I do want to change the Trijicon night sights out eventually. And one more thing about magazine capacity. Now, HK Parts does sell a larger magazine for the HK45, but it's very, very expensive. They can go from like add 3 more rounds, but one magazine costs over $100. And they do the same for the USP45. They do sell more magazines but they go around the same price, and I believe it has 3 more rounds. Or they have different extensions that adds 3 to 4 rounds, maybe 5. I have been looking at those magazines, and like I said, the HK45 was worked on by HK, and they worked together with Larry Bickers and Ken Hagedorn to develop this handgun. Now, Ken Hagedorn made a bold statement saying that this was going to be the upgraded, kind of like an upgraded 1911. I guess that's why it's got a slimmer profile to it. Picatinny rail. It's got the same functions as the 1911, except without the decocker. And this one has the slide levers on both sides. Now, like I said, I normally use the rack slide method. And another thing that I want to point out that I almost forgot is the grip. Now, it's not only slimmer and has this like sandpaper feel to it, but the HK45, the upgrades that they do offer different backstrap sizes with the HK45. I believe they do provide small, medium, and large backstraps, but this one fits my hand perfectly. I haven't changed it, so I believe it's the medium size, the one that comes with. Now, the Usp45 doesn't offer that. It's just, this is what you get. It's got stippling on both sides, front and back, but this is pretty much what you get. Now, they do, there's some companies that offer sleeves that you can put over the grip, but for me, it's not necessary because I like the feel of the Usp45. I like how it feels. It makes me feel like I'm holding on to something and I have something in my hand, so I do prefer that feel better. But that's one upgrade that the HK45 has, that they do offer you 3 different backstraps, I believe, with the HK45 to customize it somewhat to your hand, just like they do other models like the BP9 and the the P30 SKs and all the other models as well. Except that with the BP9 and the P30 models, they do offer front and side panels, so you can customize that grip however you want it. Now, with the HK45, they do just offer back straps. So basically, guys, that's the only differences that I can tell from owning both. This is just from an owner's point of view. Like I said, the Usp45 was released in 1995, and the Usp40 was released in 1993, and they scaled down that model to fit the 9mm. Now, personally, if I was to own another USP, I do want to add some more to that, the other models to my collection, because I just love the look of the USP. So I will try to get a Usp40 somewhere down the line. Now, another detail that I remember just by looking at it. Now, I don't know if most guys out there know this, but these are serial codes, serial numbers, serial codes and date codes. Now, if somebody wants to know, what year your USP was made, or what year your, HK45 was made, or any other handgun that you have from HK, you can go on their website and they offer something called date codes, HK date codes. And seeing the date code on your slide, and it goes by letters, you can tell what year your handgun was made. This one says AB, and I believe this handgun was made in 2001. So I bought this used from one of my favorite gun stores here, but it looks brand new. It looks works great. Hadn't had no problem with it. Now this is as you guys can tell here, another thing. This is a much older USP, because this has like a kind of a serial number here, serial code, and it says US on it. And on this side, it just says HK USP. On the newer models of the USP handguns, they say USP on both sides. So if you guys want to know what year your handgun was made, you guys can go on HK and look up both letters, and it will tell you what year it was made. I believe this one, if I can remember when I looked it up, it was done in 2001. And this one's supposed to have date codes on it as well, but I guess with the serial code you can't really tell. But you should be able to find the date code on your handgun as well if you want to know what it was, when it was made. And here, as you guys can tell, it just says HK45 on both, HK45 on both sides. So, and yeah, basically that's all that I can think of. I hope that this video wasn't too long. It kind of looks like it is, but just pointing out some differences that I don't think other people have pointed out. So there you go, guys. This is David8719, and remember, stay safe, stay aware, and stay loaded, guys.